All right, we're talking about Boulder High. Yeah, 10th grade, I was locker partners with Du, my Korean friend, who had been friends with me since 6th grade. But that was only for like the first quarter, and I didn't even really hang out. I wasn't really hanging out with him that much. He was hanging out with Dan Tonelli a lot, but I wasn't really hanging out with him all that much. But he was my locker partner. He was my buddy. But then he left after like the first quarter, pretty early into school year, because he went off to some boarding school in like Connecticut. And I think it was the same boarding school as another kid who we went to junior high with named Bennett, who was this like black kid or half black kid. But so then I had my own partner, my own locker. But then I was friends with Mike Chapin, who was my friend since 8th grade. I knew him since 7th grade, but he was my friend since 8th grade and junior high. And he was on the cross country team. He was a runner. He was on I don't remember him being on the track team in 7th grade, but he was on the 8th and 9th grade. And now he was on the 10th grade. He was like really into running now. And so there was another kid on the running team because running was in fall. So he met this one kid on the running team named Andy Ritchie, who was this tall kid. He was like this 6'4" tall kid or skinny kid who was a bike racer too. And so then Andy and I started, because Mike, I think, had like lunch. There were 2 different lunch periods, and Mike didn't have his lunch period with me. So then Andy and I started hanging out with each other and having lunch together and just walking around. And so it was just like we were buddies, because he wasn't social. He wasn't really social, and neither was I. So we kind of just hang out with each other. So it was kind of like the 3 of us were like the buddies all through high school, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I remember one class I had this other friend who was a Scientologist for the beginning of 10th grade, but then he left because he was just living with his sister for a little bit. And he took me to a Scientology-like thing, like office place. And they had played with the e-meter. That was pretty fun. But yeah, I wasn't really social. I was still like just going to school just for the school, and then I'd leave. I was pretty pathetic, dude. I was pretty ridiculously antisocial from 7th grade all the way to 12th grade. So I really don't have any high school stories, dude. It's pretty ridiculous. But because I didn't join any class, any group, any like club, because there was no school credit in it. There had been school credit, and I know you can brag about that kind of stuff for getting into college, but I wasn't thinking about getting into college. I knew I was going to go to college anyway. I could get into some fucking college. Didn't matter to me which college, you know. I didn't give a shit about education. I mean, I was curious and stuff, but I didn't want to like do it from somebody else's fucking thing, you know. So basically, yeah, as soon as school got out, I was going home. I was still a bike racer. Well, a mountain bike racer, not a road bike racer. But I still didn't really ride that much. School was still kind of draining me. And I had the knee problem, so I wasn't supposed to ride, really, very much. So, yeah, I was kind of it was pretty boring. Although, I hung out with my parents a lot. I go home and I do all the things with my parents. Like, my parents would just talk to my parents and do stuff with my parents, and I can't remember any specific stories though. There was this church my mom liked to go to on Sundays. What was her name? Hannah something or other. Some psychic lady who invented like all these homeopathic remedies from her psychic powers, and it was funny. You go to the church and they'd sing all the hymns, and then some guy would go up and like be like, "This is what the world's gonna look like in like next year and 20 years, man. Look, the levels are going to rise," and all this stuff. It was funny. And she's the one who diagnosed me with Epstein-Barr, which is kind of like mononucleosis in 11th grade, because I was having energy problems all summer. But, let's see, yeah, that's about it, man. I mean, I could talk about classes. In 10th grade, in 11th grade, I had a class. Journalism class, and that was annoying because the teacher was like, journalism is supposed to be what's that word, objective. You're supposed to be objective. You're not supposed to be subjective. You're just a reporter. You're not here to provide opinions. And she would just like drill that into us as if we were already guilty of being subjective. And then she'd have us like write a journal or something, but she'd only have us write like one a week. You know, the way that it's fucked up how school is, like they wouldn't tell you what your assignment is until like Tuesday, and then you'd have until like Thursday to get it done, you know? And it's like, well, what if I don't feel like doing this on a Wednesday, you know? What they should do is on a Monday, on the beginning of the whole goddamn year, they need to go, all right, whoever writes the most stories, you know, gets the best grade or whatever, or gets the most points in the class. You get to be number one in the class and brag about that shit. Go, you know, run wild. You need to teach kids to run wild, or else you're just gonna bore them. Because I don't remember writing anything. It was like, okay, write like a half-page report. You're gonna have, you know, 2 weeks to do it or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of boring. There was this one kid in my class. He was like a year older than me. He was like the biggest kid in junior high from the year older than me. What was his name? Eric Brule. One day he was like, you're a cool little kid. But I saw him show in at school once and he had like blood all over his face. I guess he got like in a Jeep accident. And there was some other kid in that class named Cedar. Was that his name? He went to Casey, and I think he was friends with Andy. But I remember him going, haha, Milli Vanilli's fake, dude. Milli Vanilli's fake. They lip sync. My dad's in the band that played after them, and their lip syncing machine broke, and the guy ran off the stage crying. And it turned out to be true what he was saying. And there was some other girl in there. Man, I remember a lot about that one class. Maybe if I just go into a specific class, I'll remember like everything about that class. There's this other girl. There are these two girls. One girl named Zoe something or other. And then she had another friend named something, who was another blonde girl who was really weird. She was like one of these really like independent-minded girls. And I think she even like had like gothic makeup on or something. She was like an emo or whatever. But she'd just say weird shit. But she didn't give a fuck about what anybody thought about her. And so that kid Cedar or whatever was like, you're weird. You're just so weird. And she goes, everybody's fucked up in their own little way. I thought that was cute. But that guy Cedar it was funny that he said that because he was weird himself. I guess he just didn't realize it. But anyways, I think that's what his name was. I don't even remember. He was only there that year and then he disappeared. Yeah. In my 10th grade, I had a, theater class. And I remember Emily McDonald was in that because she was an actress. And I remember she got upset with the teacher one day because the teacher's like, you're supposed to, now everybody's going to pretend that you're in a field. See? Ha! Wee! You're in a field! And she goes, look, I've been acting. Emily McDonald goes, I've been acting since I was like 4, and that's not how I would feel if I was in a field. Yeah. I think a lot of kids didn't like her. I thought she was okay. But, thespians, man. I probably should have joined the thespians and gone up to, do like, what do you call them? Theatrical productions. But I didn't want to join because I didn't want to deal with the competition. Maybe I had like a fragile ego. I didn't want to try out for the lead part, and then not get it, and then have to be one of the motherfuckers having on the side part or something like that. But I probably should have done it. But I don't know. I don't know if I would have had fun anyways, because you have to do do other people's plays. What would have been really fun, what I totally would have been into, and I think I still now would if I was like in a school, like a teacher or something, is the kids have to write their own plays. And if the kids write their own plays, and it's theirs from their very beginning, they're going to be more into it when they act it out. Maybe I should make a YouTube video about that. But anyways, yeah, then there was this girl, Allison Yester, was in that class. And she had a brother who died, who fell into a crevasse of in a glacier. But she was a pretty even-tempered girl. She was like, you know, one of the cool girls. I think she was friends with Emily McDonald in that class. And I did this one show with this one dude. What was his name? Tom Parkin? I think he even fucking Facebook friended me a couple months ago. But he was like tall. He said he was 5'9". So back in 10th grade, 5'9" meant you're tall. So when you're like 15 years old, coming on 16, when you're 15 and a half for a boy and you're 5'9", you're tall. So anyways, yeah, we did The Odd Couple. You know that TV show with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon? We did The Odd Couple. I can't remember which one I was. I think I was like the neurotic one, but we did pretty good at that, and that was fun. And then I as part of that class, I was part of the stage production of some, like, what was it? Canterbury Tales. And I forgot my line, man. I don't know how I fucking forgot my line, but I was doing a scene with Emily McDonald. And I totally forgot my line, and she noticed, and she covered up for me really well, and she went to the next line and made it seem like I didn't forget my line. And afterwards, I'm like, thanks for covering for me. She's like, yeah, sure. But yeah. What other class did I have in 10th grade? Oh, I had biology, dude, with this dude named Mr. Tidwell. Oh, wait, that was the dude from... I keep mentioning that name. That was the dude from the 7th grade. This guy's name was like Mr. something or other. But he was this guy who everybody made fun of. Not to his face, because he was a nice guy. But everybody did make fun of him, like, behind his back, because he was... I think he was gay. Or he moved really effeminately, because he talked like this, and he was really skinny. And, like, when he'd pick stuff up on the ground, his, like, legs would, like, bend, cross, like... this weird bending thing. He just was really goofy, but he was a pretty good teacher. And I was in, and I had like my little group, just based on who was sitting next to me, my little group of dissection, because we would dissect like rats and like frogs and stuff. And the people in my group were Terrence Lapatowski, who was this like, he was wearing his jeans down below his butt before anybody were wearing their jeans down below their butt. He was like a homeboy. He was like big, really big boned. And he had a girlfriend who was kind of like, she gave me the vibe of being kind of like an inner city homeboy girl. But she was his girlfriend all the way up through high school. So maybe they got married. But he was like this really like talkative, like, you know, lots of personality, you know, like dude. Maybe he was like a transplant from like the Bronx or something, because he did kind of have like a different accent. But he was funny. And then Bree Minger. And I think it was the three of us. Oh, no. And then this girl, Cecily Danaher, who was the punk. She was like the girl in the school who was like, you know, she'd have like the dyed hair and like the piercings all over and just the fucking weird ass clothes. She was the punk. And, you know, back then, this is like 1990, man. This is like, she's like the only girl dressed like that. And when we started dissecting animals, she like would refuse to go to school. And the teacher let her not have to go to class that day because she had like something against dissecting animals. She thought it was like not fair to the animal or something like that, or it grossed her out or something like that. But Bree Minger, man, even though she was like this girly girl, she was like totally like, you know, girl. But she was all over it, man. She's like, yeah, let's name the rat Jezebel. And Terrence goes, no, we should name her Ellie after Ellie McPherson. And so like Bree came and brought her earrings and put earrings on the rat. Like Jezebel or fucking Ellie. It was funny. And who else was in that class? Some other kid, maybe it was Thory Nelson, because he got in trouble and had to like face the corner of the classroom, like sitting in the corner facing the corner. I looked back and seeing him doing that, and it looked so goofy, man. I was like, oh my god. I was like embarrassed for him. I was like, I hope you don't like do whatever the fuck it was you did to go back to have to do that. But so I guess that teacher, even though he was nerdy, knew how to discipline kids. Just make him sit in the corner facing the corner. But yeah. So what other class do I remember from 10th grade? Fuck, dude, I know I had lots of classes. Oh fuck. Anyways, I'm out of time. I'll have to continue this.